Well, hello, content batching party people. It's super exciting to be here. I'm Megan, if we haven't met before, and I'll be leading this session today. I also have my colleague Maura on, who is going to be manning the chat right over here. So we would love to know who's here also. So introduce yourself, let me know where you're tuning in from and what business you're in. If you see someone in a similar industry to you, make sure you connect with them. Go ahead and reach out and let them know. We love to make this a really great space for small business owners to get ideas from each other, chat with each other, and kick some content batching party butt. So let us know where you're tuning in from and what business you're in the chat there. I will say my computer's been kind of weird today, so if I cut out for a short second, I will be back. Tried restarting it right before I got on the live stream, so fingers crossed everything will be good. But no, I will be back in 2 seconds if that happens again. But today we are going to go over a couple of strategies in MeetEdgar that make loading content into your library so simple and so effective, which is pretty exciting. And I'm going to be sharing some spreadsheets that you're welcome to download, or after the party or during the party even, you can take the time to go out and start collecting quotes, questions, fun curated pieces of content and adding them to your own spreadsheets, stuff like that. So we'll go over that. After that, I will spend a little bit of time answering some of the pre-submitted questions, and then I'll go into a couple of slides just about strategy and social media in general to make sure that we are giving you some fun new strategies to try out and experiment with, because like they say, if you're swinging a golf club in the dark, you don't know what's happening and you can't improve. So it's always good to experiment, always good to look at what's going on and what's working for other people. So if that sounds good, we will go ahead. If this goes over an hour, Maura will probably jump off, but I will stay on for longer than an hour if you still have questions. So keep this chat going with questions. Maura will answer them during the party here. I will stay on after the party if it goes over an hour and answer any unanswered questions. So keep this chat bumping. Awesome. Jessica, Mila, Lori, Heidi, hello everyone. So good to have you. Cleveland, represented by Diane, super exciting. Awesome, look at all these people. This is one of the coolest things definitely about being able to connect with people online is seeing where everyone is tuning in from. So thanks for coming, guys. All right, first and foremost, before we get started today, I just want to go over the 3 main ways that you can add content into MeetEdgar. Then I'll share the spreadsheets and we can load them in together. But if you are new to Edgar, there are a few ways you can get content into your library. The first way is manually with this Add New Content button. Pretty self-explanatory right there. Simply check off the accounts you'd like it to go out to. Remember, you're always giving Edgar permission of where you'd like the accounts to this piece of content to send to. Something over here is not checked off. Edgar will never send it there. You'll then go ahead and select the type of post it is. So in the categories here, you'll write your post in this section right here. You'll go ahead and connect a photo or a video if you'd like from these little icons in the lower left-hand corner. And then you'll save it to your library. So that's essentially like if you were going onto Facebook and writing a status update, think of it in that same way when you're adding new content this way. Another way you can add content is in this import tab here. So this import tab here gives you a couple of options. The spreadsheet one is what we're going to work on in a little bit here, but you also have the option to add in RSS feeds to get content into your library. If you guys haven't tried this out yet, it is an awesome feature because it essentially will check whatever website feed you put in here every 24 hours. And if a new post has been released within that time period, Edgar will automatically pull it on over. So let's take a look at how this works here. If I wanted to import all of the blog posts from MeetEdgar, I'm just going to type our URL in there. Edgar's going to say, great, there's an RSS feed attached here. You'll go ahead and select the category that you want it to go into. You'll go ahead and check off again the accounts that this has permission to go out to. Then you've got 2 choices here. One, you can send these directly to your library. What Edgar imports is the title of the blog post as well as the URL. Or you can send it to a pending content queue. So if you're curating articles to give your followers some really great value, I always recommend sending it to pending just because this will allow you to approve it or reject it, or even better, personalize it a little to add in your own opinions about it. So once you add that feed, those posts will be checked every 24 hours. If a new post is in your pending content section, that will live in the library here. So the pending content section is going to be right here, and that's the little number over this section. You can see it's got the title, the URL. You'll just click approve if you want to share it. That will send it to your library. You can click reject if you're like, you know what, this is not going to be that valuable or educational for my followers. Or again, you can edit it if you wanted to go on in and add in any sort of commentary beyond just the title there. The last way you can get content into your library, I'm just going to use this blog post right here to do it, beyond these spreadsheets is our browser extension. Again, if you haven't used it yet, it's a great tool to speed up getting these blog posts into your MeetEdgar account. You can be on any single blog post online, and you'll notice that in my toolbar here, I have this little MeetEdgar extension. So if I click this MeetEdgar extension when I'm on a blog post, it'll go ahead and bring up the add new content screen right on that blog post, pre-populated with the URL and the title. So all I need to do is check off the accounts, select it into a category, and save it to my library right there. If you haven't downloaded the extension yet, you can go to our Help Center from this little drop-down menu. Just type in the word extension, and it'll go ahead and pop up. I will also put this in the chat right now, so you can go ahead and grab that if you have not yet. Cool. So those are the main ways that you are able to get content into Edgar. Now we're going to go ahead and look a little bit at what we promised in the email are some spreadsheets. So right here, let me get this little shareable link for you. Right here is going to be the spreadsheets that we can work off of. And I will show you the best way to download those and upload them into Edgar. I see a lot of questions coming in about like setup stuff too. Again, I will stay on after and answer product questions, of course. But I also wanted to share, if you do have to jump off early, this playlist right here on YouTube goes through like a step-by-step setup of every part of Edgar. So that could be a good resource if you are new and you're like, oh my gosh, you're speaking so fast, Megan. Go ahead and check that out. Cool. So everyone, that first link, this Google Docs link that has the sharing on it, these are the spreadsheets that we have. There's tabs at the bottom. I'll share it one more time in case it got lost, that Google Docs one here. So let me share my screen and show you an easy way to get all of these posts into Edgar. So you can see down here, you've got quotes, these tabs for questions, productivity tips, depending upon what you want to share with your followers, curated business articles, and engagement prompts, which are essentially like, hey, share this, call to action to make sure that your followers stop their scroll and remember that there is a person behind your social media that you actually want to interact with. So from here, what you're going to do is you're going to locate the one you would like to download and upload into Edgar. You're going to say file. So right up here from this file section, download. So file, download. And then you're going to download it as a CSV file, comma separated values. Click to download it. It'll download if you have a Mac like me or right onto your toolbar here, or if you have a PC or you have these sent somewhere else, it'll download into that folder onto your computer. So you can do this with every tab if you want. If you don't want to do the quotes one, if you're like, my followers aren't going to be resonating with inspirational quotes, but I do want to ask them questions, just pop over to this tab here, go file, download, again, comma separated values is what we're looking for here, the CSV. Once you get which ones you want downloaded, you're going to pop into your MeetEdgar account and again, go to your import tab. So this import tab here, beyond just having this awesome RSS feeds, you can import spreadsheets. When you go to import a file, just click import file, and then you'll have this choose file button. When you choose your file, you're going to locate that file on your computer. It's going to be called Content Batching Party. Cool. So this is the questions one here. It'll be named Content Batching Party dash whatever tab you downloaded. You'll locate it on your computer and click to open it. Once this opens, you'll go ahead and click import here. So once you click import, Edgar is going to work his little under the sea magic and give you this import content section here. So once you have this in this import content section here, we can go ahead and get it into Edgar. My mistake, actually. You guys, hold on one second if you're following along. I totally should have said this because I did this ahead of time. But in the import section of a spreadsheet that you're setting up, you can notice the first column here is the status update. I am so sorry, I forgot to mention this. The second column here is the category you would like it to go into. So before you actually import the spreadsheet, you do need to make sure you have the categories set up within MeetEdgar. And the category name does have to match exactly what you want it to be in Edgar. So if you go to your categories tab in Edgar here, you can go ahead and create these categories. You can, of course, change the name. You can edit anything that way. But you can create a category if you're on Edgar, call it the questions category. Then go back to your import tab and go through what we just did there. Once you come to this screen, again, you can go ahead and put this into the questions category. You can see here, I'll just go ahead and say these are all questions. So this upper level one right here will allow me to select the category I want it to go into. Again, this upper level checkbox is saying I want all of these. If you see a question you do not want included, just uncheck it. You can also go ahead and delete it in your library. From there, you're going to use these upper level social account connections to attach the accounts you want these to go out to. Because remember, we have to give Edgar permission on the posts. So you'll come here, you'll select the posts, put them into the category, then use the upper level things to select which accounts these can go out to. Scroll down and click to import content. So once we import the content, you'll see Edgar's going to work to get that into your library. So you can do this with all of these spreadsheets of curated content we have here, and that'll give you over 100 posts in your library to start cycling through. So super quick way to get the most bang for your buck out of Edgar right away is popping these things into your library, getting these onto your schedule and letting Edgar start working. And you can then always come back to your library and start to add more content or start to customize the content more. One idea, especially since these are these weren't created by you, these are just great questions here, is you can, once you're in your library, remember you can scroll through, you can sort your library by just the questions or something like that with these category filters. You can always remove any that you decide you don't want. You can click edit on this post if you wanted to add in something else, like especially for the quotes, if you wanted to tell a story about why those quotes inspire you specifically to personalize it. Or if you wanted to add in an image to have people have the visual connection of your face or something like that, just click edit on these imported posts. And you can, of course, add a photo, add a video, or add any other text that you want. But this is a great structure of questions, engagement prompts, and curated articles that you can get into your library right away. To have them send out, you're then going to pop over to your schedule tab here and put those categories on the schedule. So remember, I just imported the questions. So now if I wanted those questions to send out, there's 30 questions on that spreadsheet. If I go ahead and I put my questions category here on the schedule, again, checking off the accounts I want it to send out to over here on the left, saying I'd like a questions category to go out at Tuesdays at 3 a.m. because I know my audience are night owls. Click on save right there. If this is on here, let's say we want to ask 3 questions a week. I could make 3 time slots with the questions here like so. So if I have 30 posts in my questions category, and I put this questions category on my schedule 3 times, it's going to be 10 weeks before Edgar starts to recycle through and repeat the questions. So that gives you a ton of time to go out there and seek out your own questions, to seek out more information to add into these categories to keep it fresh. But again, knowing you can always slowly build up your library every month, making a goal for yourself to add a certain amount of posts, to do that math. And we'll go over some different math case scenarios in the slides in a minute. But again, I just want to stress to you, these can be a really great way just to start getting some consistency in your social media feeds, because, you know, people could be seeing your posts, but not interacting with them, because it needs to take that time to know that you're not just another passing trend, that you are a brand that's there to stay. And creating that consistency with these categories in Edgar is going to be a great way of doing that. So definitely do that. You know, create your own spreadsheets. You see how simple it is just to make a Google Doc here and start to load in start to load in questions as you find them. Start to keep track of articles if you don't want to add them to Edgar yet or something. And you can always use this import feature at a later date. We here at Edgar would also love your feedback on more types of spreadsheets we can create for you. Do you like the questions? Do you like the curated business articles? What kind of content could we create for you in these spreadsheet fashions? And start sending them out in emails now that you know how to actually use it. Because we'd love just, again, to make sure that your libraries are full and as easily accessible as possible for you to get this content in here. Cool? Cool. So let us know in the chat or email me, support@meetedgar.com. All righty-o. So let me pop back in here and pop into my slides a little bit. Let me see here. There we go. I always forget where things are. Thanks for your patience. Awesome. So now we're going to go into a little bit more strategy. Please keep loading in those content items. Again, I want to make sure that you guys are actually getting content into your library during this party. So let me know if you're having any trouble with the spreadsheets, and we'll get back to that after these slides. Images cannot be imported with the spreadsheets. At this time, it is just text and URLs, Kev. So it's definitely something, bulk uploading images, that we would love to add to Edgar. We will pass along your vote to the product team, and fingers crossed that'll be something we'll work on soon. But yeah, so you would have to add the photos afterwards. So once those posts are in your library, just go to the library, click edit on the posts, and then you can add in the images. If you guys do have questions on how to add images to Edgar, this help article I'll pop into the chat right now is a great place to see how you actually go ahead and add images. Okay, cool. Can you go over how to load again at the end? Yeah, Betty, 1 second here. Let me actually make sure we go over that before we move on. Okay, cool. So once you're in this import tab, Betty, you're going to go to import file. So import file, choose file, and then you'll find that spreadsheet. If you're downloading it from ours, it'll start out with the name content batching. So you can see this one here that I downloaded. It's just the content batching party/questions one. You can download each tab and it will be situated like that. You'll click on open here. Edgar will go ahead and get that file open, and you'll click this import button. You'll then be brought to a screen where you're going to put it into the category. So make sure you have that questions category set up in your categories tab. You'll go ahead and check off the accounts you want Edgar to send these out to. So similar when you're adding content manually. You'll scroll down and you'll click import content, and then it'll get into your library. It might take a couple of seconds, but you'll just, it'll have like a little thing that'll say, refresh this page to see your posts or something like that. So yeah, import, find the spreadsheet. Again, just make sure you have the category names set up so you can put them right in there. So pop on over to your categories, click to add the questions category, stuff like that. Yeah, so that's an easy process there. If you forget how to do this at any time, just go to our help center again and type in import, and it'll come up with those. And the replay of this will also be sent to you just in case you need to watch it afterwards. Cool, cool. All right, keep those questions coming. I will go ahead and pop into the slides here, and then I will pop back into the chat in a bit. Awesome. So 5 steps for social media success. I want to go over some strategies today, mostly because I read this stat the other day that said a person sees 400 marketing messages a day. And I thought that was pretty crazy, but also believable when I started to think about it. So how are you going to actually stand out? First and foremost, I want to make sure you guys are in the right mindset. And this can be really interesting to think about if you not only think about this in the way of your mindset, but also in the way of your followers' mindset. You need to change their beliefs and you need to shift their mindset to know that your product or service is going to make their life better, right? It's going to transform their life somehow. Is it saving them time like a tool like MeetEdgar does? Is it saving them money? Is it saving them heartache? Is it entertaining them? Is it giving them a status symbol with a fancy shoe or umbrella? Don't know where that example came from, but you see my point. So getting in the right mindset with anything in life is so important. So you need to make sure that you are investing in your followers so that they invest in you. And that's why it is so important to take the time to create really good content for your followers. And how this happens is being driven by the process of connecting with people over the product of having 1 million followers. So if you are someone who is struggling to gain followers or gain attention on social media, I want you to flip your mindset to say, okay, it is the process of uploading these status updates into my MeetEdgar library, and it is the process of thinking through what content my followers are going to find valuable. That is the most important thing you can do to make sure you are staying consistent, because it's a long road a lot of the time. We all know that. But people who stay consistent and who continue knocking at that door and aren't worried about that 1 million follower count, but are worried about making sure they're giving people the right content at the right time, that's what's going to keep you going and help you kind of kick past people who are going to quit along the way. And I know a lot of you said consistency was one of your main goals. So think about the process and how that can help you create consistency. And essentially what you're saying to your followers is your time is worth paying attention to me over your friends and family, because how often people are actually going out there on social media to connect with a brand isn't that much. They're there to connect with their friends and family. So you have to think, if your followers are giving you time and attention, they are essentially saying, you know what, you are as important to me as your friends and family. So that's the mindset you need to be in when you're creating this content. You need to be talking to your friends and family and connecting on that intimate personal level. So that's also why once you get these spreadsheets uploaded into Edgar, it is so important for you then to go back in and personalize it, to put in that attention that you're asking your followers to give to you. Put that same attention into every single status update. So once you get them in there, do yourself a favor and think about some stories you can share, because our brains are so hardwired for stories that if you can share a personal story that someone could see themselves in, it is going to make it so much more likely that they are going to connect with that quote that you just uploaded from that spreadsheet. Cool? All right. I want you to also remember, as you're trying to go throughout this consistency challenge, that you want to create community over comparison, which is why those spreadsheets have so many questions and engagement prompts on them, because we don't really want to be comparing follower count. We want to be really focused on creating a community who is engaged with talking to each other. We have heard it once, we've heard it twice, I'm going to say it a third time. Meaningful social interaction is what those algorithms are looking for. So that means they're looking for comments between people, and they're looking for more than just the passive like of a post. They're looking for people to engage and share. So your mindset needs to be creating community rather than just comparing follower count more than anything. And you really want to make sure that you have an opinion. And that means you're going to stand out from other people in your industry in some way, whether it's your unique story of how you got to where you are, whether it's an innovative product or service that you have created, whether it's your personality, whether it's your energy, whatever it is, make sure that you're standing out, because you need to make sure that opinion shares through. For example, at MeetEdgar, there's another social media automation tool you could choose out there. There truly is. However, we stand out because we truly believe on an evergreen strategy of posting. So making sure you're creating content that can be sent out more than once. Again, these spreadsheets do that. These articles that are curated in there are curated in a sense that they are set up in order to have really valuable information you can share out again and again. So this idea of us having an evergreen strategy that is going to work for you is the opinion that we have about social media marketing. It might differ from other people, but that's how we stand out in this space. So it's a good thing to be able to kind of have that there. I also want you to remember to use social media as customer research. So if you're not sure if some of these things on the spreadsheets are actually going to connect and resonate with your community, go on to Facebook and look into some groups that your ideal customer avatar is going to be living in, and see what kind of questions they're asking, see the language they're using, see all of that fun stuff. All of that information is going to let you know the type of content you should be curating for your followers that way. And really make sure you're going on to things like Pinterest and YouTube as well to go out and search keywords and all of that fun stuff. If you're searching for keywords, if you're searching for things like social media, you know how on Google, how they have that little suggested questions pop up? Those are the most searched items for the words you're using. YouTube and Pinterest do this as well, and that's letting you know the most searched terms going on right now. So it's a really great way, again, for you to connect with your community. All right, let's see here. It looks like Maura's keeping up with the chat here. All right, cool, cool, cool. I also want to go on now to step 2, content creation. I need you to remember the message you're putting out there should be pretty simple. It should be simple because you need to give people a way to talk about your product or service. And if you're complicating that message too much, then people aren't going to be able to easily have that word of mouth marketing. So content creation all comes down to thinking about a couple of sentences that really describe your product or service and the benefits that it's going to offer to people. A lot of this content creation stuff and a lot of these slides that I'm going over today are also in Edgar University. So if you see something on here that you want to dive a little bit deeper into, and you have not yet signed up for Edgar University, we have about 4 classes in there that go into this stuff a lot deeper. And this is just kind of scratching the surface. So this link right here will allow you to sign up for Edgar University if you haven't yet. So go ahead and do that. Cool. So simplify to amplify is going to be your kind of anthem for going throughout content creation to give people a way to talk to you. So does this relate to you when you're creating content? You sit down to write a social media content and you stare at the screen because nothing's coming to you. You go right to posting without having any idea why you're posting that specific content. I know we've all been there before. How do you kiss this content paralysis goodbye? By establishing these categories. So those spreadsheets, the reason that you're creating categories for them is because in the future, when you're going back to add more content and batch out more content, it makes it so much easier to sit down and be in the mind frame of saying, okay, I'm going to add 10 questions to my questions category this month. I'm going to add 20 curated articles, and I'm going to add 10 behind the scenes stories about what's going on in my business. Having that established and having these categories guides your content creation in a way that you don't have to sit there and be like, I don't know what to post. These categories tell you what to post. So take the time to really deliberately think about these as your buckets of posts there. And you don't really want to give your followers that too many tacos feeling. I wish this had been on Taco Tuesday so I could make a better joke right here. But what do I mean by this? I mean, if you're not doing a content strategy that has to do with categories, this is essentially what your feed looks like. Random, random, random. You could have like 10 quotes in a row, or you could have like 10 curated articles in a row with none of your own branded stories, stuff like that. So if you establish these categories in Edgar, when you log into your Edgar account and you go to your categories tab, if you're establishing the categories, it'll take your social media feed and make it something like this. A blog post about how-to content, a quote, a video post, an inspirational post, a promotional post, a tip. How much more fun is that for your followers to scroll through than having the same thing over and over again? A lot more fun is the correct answer there. So this is why I really want you to, again, sit down, get to know your followers, and make these categories really stand out to guide your content creation. In MeetEdgar, you do come with some pre-established categories. So these pre-established categories are all based on things we know work really well when we started MeetEdgar and did our own social media. But you can customize these, remember, log in, and really speak to your followers' day. Other ideas, a lot of people will do like day-specific categories as well. So when you pop into MeetEdgar, if you wanted to do a day-specific category, you could do like Motivational Monday or like Trivia Thursday to ask questions in. And you can add in those specific hashtags to any posts in that category, right? If you're doing the category-specific day posts, I just want to show you real quick so we don't mess this up. But if you're in your categories tab right here and you click to add a category and you want to call it like Motivational Monday, just make sure you uncheck this box right here that says include when selecting random content to post. If you have a random time slot on your schedule, none of the content from this category will go out then. And that's the way you can say like Monday motivation and know that these posts will only go out on Monday, because when you come to your schedule and you put that category on your schedule, you're only going to put it on the Monday, right? And it's not included in random time slots if you use those. So boom, you'll know those posts will only go out on Monday. So you could do something like that for quotes, again, for like Trivia Tuesday or Tip Tuesday or, Fun Friday or Throwback Thursday for some behind the scenes content on, who you are or how you created your business. So start thinking that can create consistency as well by making sure your followers know every Monday you're going to start them out with a motivational quote, and every Friday you guys are going to celebrate a fun fact or something together. That consistency matters, and that episodic content that people get used to seeing over and over again is pretty powerful on social media. Cool. All right, back to the slides. So get your categories set up. Think about creative ways you could do those day-specific ones, and that will really help you guide your content strategy even more. So when you're creating this content for each category, I want you to think about how you convert followers. It's about building relationships, and relationships exist on emotions. So you want to make sure that you are delighting your followers, you're educating your followers, you're really entertaining your followers, inspiring your followers. All of these things go into converting people. So don't think that you have to have just a promotional feed talking about your product or service all the time. You can have these other posts that are going to actually help your conversion rates. And all of that stuff is really, really exciting for your followers to actually engage with, rather than having to go on there and just look at sales all the time. So think about those to guide your content creation and category creation as well. But you're not out of the woods on having to promote yourself. I know we're all so uncomfortable promoting ourselves, but you got to do it on social media. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a script to follow here. In this, your really strong sales copy should really be focusing in this sort of script. Because of a feature, an advantage your followers will gain, which means talk about the benefit last. It's going to be that recency bias. If you're leaving people with the last thing they read about the benefit of your product or service rather than about the feature, they're going to leave with a more powerful bond to your brand than anything else. So let's take a look at an example of how you would actually do this. You could say something like, because of Edgar's ability to send out your content to multiple platforms automatically, that's a feature. It will save you time to make sure your content connects when your audience is online. That's an advantage, which will save you time so that you can be with your friends and family and work on other areas of your business. That's the benefit. So remember, this is the script you can really follow when you're trying to get over that sort of promotional scariness, because then it's just a conversation, right? When you're adding content to your promotional category, if you don't have a promotional category, get in your Edgar account right now and make one. But this is what you want to follow. Let's talk about a feature, really make sure you're telling people the advantage, and really make sure you're telling people the benefit of it. And then you've done your job. You've put it out there. You're serving the people you need to serve, and you don't need to feel weird about selling because you've actually gone in there and done this work. All right, cool. So you also, when you're selling, if you're someone who's a little bit afraid of it, I want you to try to flip the script a little bit and ask, what is it costing someone not to have your product or service? For something like a social media automation tool, it's costing someone time they could be spending with their family and friends, or time they could be spending making networking connections for their business. So these things all go into the cost in a really strong way. So if you're a little bit afraid that the price objection might be something that people are actually going towards, make sure you're really asking yourself, what's it costing them not to? And put that pain point out on social media. Highlight that pain point to people, because sometimes we can forget that there's another way. There's a way that this can be better. So definitely try looking into that. All right. For your content creation here in step 2, I want you to remember these golden rules as well. When you're adding photos and when you're adding things into your MeetEdgar account, the photo really stops the scroll. We are visual creatures. We want to see things. It builds trust to get your face out there on social media. And the copy can then tell the story. So think about the ways that you can make your photo really stop people scroll. Is everyone in your industry sharing color photos? Perhaps start sharing a black and white one. If that's going to be a pattern interrupt when people are scrolling through their feed, people are excited to stop and look at what that is. It's that purple cow, the analysis or comparison, that if you're driving by just brown cow, you're not going to stop and look. When that purple cow shows up, you're gonna pull over to the side of the road and look. So think about what photos you can get really creative with. And even if your copy is something like an inspirational quote that many brands might be sharing, if you have a unique photo of you and your business to add to that, it's really gonna help tell that story so much more. Another thing to think about is when you're promoting content, logic is the thing that's going to inform your followers, but emotion is what's going to sell your followers on anything. So that's why when we're writing our sales copy, we really want to make sure that we are having the emotion and that benefit at the end, and that's what we're leaving people with, because that's going to drive sales more than anything. And last but not least, get brave, get on video, get your selfie camera out and show your face. There's a lot of studies coming out right now, and it's a pretty hot topic in social media that like actually a selfie is one of the most intimate ways that people can connect with their followers, because it's that like close zone in and you feel like you know exactly what the person's doing, you know exactly the setup. And people are really saying it builds trust in a lot of ways. So if you haven't tried it yet, rather than just sharing your logo all the time, share your face, share your team's face, share your behind the scenes of what your family does and all that kind of stuff. So these can really help you stand out on social media in your content creation. All right, step 3, distribution. So if you're someone just starting out, I'm gonna say something that might sound a little bit funny here, but I want you to maybe consider posting a little less frequently until you can build up that engagement. And using the spreadsheets with the questions and the engagement prompts will help with this, because you'll get a lot more people actually answering those questions. But the algorithms are set up in a way that if you're not getting a lot of engagement, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter start to think that people aren't interested in your content, and they're probably not going to show it to a huge amount of people. So how these algorithms are working is they're actually sending out a status update to a small group of your followers to see how they react to it. If it's getting a lot of comments, they'll open it up to a bigger group of followers. The next piece of content you share will be opened up to that bigger group of followers because they've seen people interact with it. So if you're not getting a lot of engagement on your posts, perhaps consider posting only once a day until you can build up comments and then pop more status updates into your schedule on MeetEdgar to then start to make sure that these posts are actually being seen by more people. Because remember, it's okay if your strategy changes as your business starts to change. You don't have to stay the same the whole way through. And the reason that we really want to make sure that you're getting seen is because posts are disappearing quite a bit these days. You know, the average lifespan of an Instagram post, 21 hours. Facebook, 5 hours. Tweet, 18 minutes. So you need to make sure you're really zoning in on when your audience is online as well. You know, for MeetEdgar, our audience are marketers like yourselves, so you guys can be online during the workday. So we might experiment doing things like at 9 a.m. and at noon. However, you might be someone marketing to a newborn's parent who's up at 2 a.m. feeding their kid or something. So perhaps doing a time slot in the middle of the night makes sense for you. So that's why it's really important that when you're actually distributing your content, that you're going into when your ideal audience is online the most. And to overcome some of these statistics, I really want to make sure that when you're going into your content, you're going really deep into a subject matter to be known as the expert and to attract people really well in this way. That is how you're going to build trust, and that is how you're going to really attract the right people to you. Not everyone has time to click and read your content, so don't get too caught up in the fact that perhaps you're not seeing the click-through rates that you want. Perhaps you're not going to actually see right away the conversions that you want. That's why this post is in your MeetEdgar library, and that's why you can share it again, and that's how it will be resurfaced again. So again, make sure that your content is written in a really meaningful way so that when Edgar resurfaces it based on your rotation and your ratio of how many content items are in a category versus how many times you place that category on your schedule, just know you're crafting that status update for the long run. All right, so you're doing a disservice to your content if you're spending all the time creating it and none of the time promoting it. If you spend 1 hour creating a blog post, you should spend 8 hours promoting it. So that is, again, why you want to make sure that in your evergreen strategy, you're creating quality content that new followers should be able to see, as well as those who haven't seen it the first time. And this is why, because when you share a blog post, right when you write it, you get a big spike of traffic and people will read it. However, if you're not resharing it on social media multiple times, it's going to dip in traffic and people aren't going to find it. And all of your hard work is only going to be seen by that initial share. So here at MeetEdgar, we share some of our most strong blog posts probably, once every couple of months. We share the other blog posts probably more on a quarterly basis. So in your MeetEdgar categories, you could consider doing something like this as well. If you have like a really strong traffic driving blog post, you can make a category in your MeetEdgar account and call it, traffic driving posts. And then you could make another category and call it something like blog posts in general. All of that stuff could be separated out, and you could put the traffic driving blog posts into MeetEdgar into the schedule more often than the other ones. Lynn, we use Demio for this. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat, but it's called Demio. There you go. So think about ways you could split your content into different categories and put the categories you want to drive traffic more often that way. And then maybe some of your other blog posts you can recycle through less often. Evergreen content really is like adding an asset to your business that you can grow while you are sleeping. And that is one of the things that MeetEdgar wants to help you with, is making sure you understand that this evergreen strategy of creating and reposting content truly does work to attract the right followers. And don't worry, if someone sees the same post more than once, A, it's likely they're not going to remember, and B, you love seeing that same Super Bowl commercial that you really love over and over again. If it's quality content you're creating, people are not going to mind if they see it a second time. Cool. So if your posts only get 5 likes and then disappear into the social media black hole forever, then it's not going to be something that's going to be adding an asset to your business while you sleep, which is our main goal for you. So you want to make sure that you're creating this evergreen content, not only to get more likes on your own posts, but often to create partnerships with similar branded companies. So evergreen content can be shared a lot more often and backlinked in other people's articles because they know that that blog post is going to live on your site, and it's not going to be like a broken link that'll look bad on their blog post. So it's a great way that you can reach out to people and let them know, I have this evergreen blog post here. I'd love for you to do a link exchange with you, whatever you want to phrase it as. And if they know that you're going to actually have this piece of content add value over and over and not something that you're going to delete from your blog, it's much more likely they'll actually do that partnership with you, which is another reason you want to be searching for and creating evergreen content. So when you're actually posting this stuff, search engines like YouTube and like Google do truly look into how often something's been shared on social media. If a viral Facebook post has been shared hundreds of times, it's really going to be ranked higher than a post that's only shared twice in the Google algorithm even. So if you search for something in Google, Facebook results will pop up there if an article has been shared enough. So think about that. It's called social media optimization. We have a whole course about it in Edgar University that I would love for you to take if you haven't yet. It comes with your subscription. It is included in it. Again, if you haven't got your login, that's going to be it. But this is something that I've actually been studying a little bit and love learning about. Is this idea that the internet is truly all connected, right? So anything that is a signal on social media, that's a really helpful, relevant article that's shared a bunch of times, it goes into the Google algorithm. So again, when you're creating your content, make sure it's created in a way that you have optimized the ability for people to understand your message and to understand why they should share it and to understand that it's for you. Generate these headlines that are going to get people super excited to click on and read and share in a way that's kind of related to their identity. So identity sharing is something that's pretty cool because if someone shares something to their page, they're essentially sharing it to say to their followers, hey, this says something about me that I want you to know about. And if you're saying, I want you to know this about me and sharing it to your page, you've done your work splendidly as a marketer because that means your brand is then shared with their followers. And that means that those shares are going into the Google algorithm for more people to find it. So it's a beautiful connection if you can accomplish it properly here. And accomplishing it properly means really taking the time to study your ideal audience of who you're going after in that way and really leading people to these actions that you want them to take. Set up that yellow brick road for your followers. Let people know where they should go, how they should share that content, why it's important for you to share that content. I don't know if you guys are following along on a lot of these, a lot of emails chains that are going out now about like B-School and about other articles people are being featured in. But you can see people actually ask you to share this content out. So remember, lead your followers along that way on your own social media. Ask them to share something and remind them, because often they'll like to if it's something they resonate with and identify with. They just forget to because we're all just in this consumption phase when we go to scroll through social media. So give them what they want and they'll be more likely to share, and they'll be more likely to really resonate with your message and to become a really engaged follower. All right, step 4, 2 more steps. Thanks for sticking with me, guys, and then I'll pop into your questions. Engagement. So you want to make sure that you are really targeting towards what we call a conversation-based community on any social media network. And again, that's because of that meaningful social interaction that Facebook wants to see, that Twitter wants to see, that everyone wants to see these days. And it's really taking it from a space that, you know, it's not a broadcast vehicle anymore on social media. Anyone can win if they're really going after these one-on-one connections with people. So you want to make sure that you are leading with the content that your followers want to see every day. This means sitting down, knowing their lives inside and out, what they do when they wake up, how they eat lunch, how they get home, how old they are, do they have kids? Think about who your product or service is for to that level. Then you want to make sure that you're going to give them content that flows with their day. So it's important to think about what they're doing throughout their day, and those categories that we established during step 1 for that content creation is really going to be helpful, because then you can say, okay, what categories will be helpful at what points during the day? And your schedule in MeetEdgar takes care of itself. So if you say, I don't know when to put these categories on my schedule, if you're someone who's going to be asking about your schedule, I'm going to tell you to sit down and think about your followers' day more. Think about what they're doing, and the schedule makes itself. The categories and the schedule go hand in hand with knowing intimately who your ideal customer is and what they do. If you're not sure, pick up the phone, call them, get into Facebook groups where they hang out, ask them questions, email your list a survey to take, and really get to know these things, because it does make a difference in your reach on social media. And it truly is like dating. It is like making sure that you're not just giving out promotion after promotion, asking someone to marry you on the first date. No. Ask questions to get to know your followers. That's why these spreadsheets that we uploaded had a lot of prompts on them that maybe didn't have anything to do with selling your product or service, but it's not only going to be able to get your engagement rates up, which I know so many of you submitted as one of your main goals in the registration form. It's also going to get you to know people a little bit better. If a lot of people are answering that they hate cats but love dogs, don't share a cat meme on your social media, share a dog meme. It truly can be that simple of just getting to know people and talking to them in the way that they want to relate to that content. And make sure, again, that you're not broadcasting, that you're truly listening, because people can feel that you care and they can feel that you understand them in that way. And you want to make sure that you are attracting the people that you want to attract, and not the product you have when you're brainstorming hashtags. So I know a couple of you asked about how important hashtags are. Hashtags are very important on Instagram and pretty important on Twitter. Instagram is categorized by hashtags. It's how you're going to be found by new people in the Explore feature. Twitter, it's a great way to create these communities and a great way to talk to people who have common interests of you. And I want to make sure that when you're trying to get this engagement up by using hashtags, that you're thinking about them in the right way. So for MeetEdgar, for example, if I'm going to post something on Instagram, I don't want to hashtag it automation tool, because my ideal customer of a small business owner who doesn't have a marketing isn't going to be hanging out in the Explore feature under automation tool. They're going to be hanging out in the Explore feature to connect with other small businesses or to find out marketing tips. So even though I'm marketing an automation software, that's not the hashtag I want the post to be categorized on. I want the post to be categorized where my ideal client for that software would be hanging out, which is looking for marketing tips, which is looking for small business advice. So think through your hashtags that way, if that makes sense. Don't hashtag your product. Don't hashtag your service. Hashtag the qualities that your ideal audience has, and you'll see being able to be found so much better. So in some of these spreadsheet things that you've uploaded to Edgar, consider going back in, especially if you're sending them to Instagram and Twitter, and adding in some of those hashtags that way. Alrighty, get yo lead magnet game on. I cannot stress this enough. I know I'm jumping around here a little bit on the engagement front, but in this step 4 for engagement, I truly believe that building up your social media followers to trust you enough to hand over their email address to you is something that you should be aiming for. And the way you're going to do that is to offer them value through a lead magnet. So it is super simple. Don't get shy here that you're not a designer, you can't do this, because I promise you there are tools out there that make this process really easy. You can go onto a program like Canva or something like that, and you can actually go and make a lead magnet. Say you are someone who's selling a dog bed. Perhaps you could make a lead magnet saying, the 10 best gifts to give your dog, your grand dog on Valentine's Day, and try to target people who have grand dogs or something like that. You see my drill. Or if you're a fitness instructor, perhaps you could make a PDF that has checkboxes that have to do with a healthy shopping list or something like that. So these things that are tangentially related to your industry. ConvertKit, yes, Deborah, they have a great lead magnet page creator. MailChimp has one too. Once you create that PDF, make a landing page for it, whether it's on your blog in WordPress or whether it's something like on MailChimp for a landing page. People will then opt in by giving you their email address, and you'll then email them that PDF download. That way you can start building up an email list through social media. And this is important because most of your social media content should be value added. It should not be salesy. It should be creating a community, remember? And if you have their email addresses, you can do a little bit more selling and nurturing through email that way. So that's why you want to take your social media followers from a space that you don't really own them to getting their email, and now they're on your list. That list you can then create your strategy with from there. So that's a really great way to do that. If you guys need another example of this, let me grab this from here. Oh man, I thought I had it saved. We have a secret blogging formula landing page here. Here we go. So this is kind of the flow that you would take with it if you've never seen this done before. So essentially this is just a PDF that we took, a lot of tips that have already been provided like on our blog that are already well researched. We just took those tips and we provided it into a really beautiful PDF for people, a really step-by-step guide, a no-nonsense guide, no fluff, just go right through it. And this, sorry, Meg, it's in that link, that MeetEdgar.com secret blogging formula I just put into the chat. So you can't get that PDF unless you put your email address in there, right? So that's what you want to think about doing to really build up your list that way. All right, last step of the system, batching, and upcycling your updates. I like to say it's because you don't want to cook just one cookie at a time. If you're going to take the time to get out all of the ingredients and to actually start baking some chocolate chip cookies, it's likely you're not going to just cook one. You're going to cook a couple of dozen. Same with your social media status updates. You don't want to sit down and write just one at a time. That is a huge time suck. You're going to be task switching. You're going to lose a ton of time. You want to sit down and actually create a ton of status updates at once, not only so you can tell a consistent story, but also so that you are someone who can then jump on in there and make sure that you are engaging with your content on the days that you're spending time on social media rather than having to create it and react all the time. So creating content, again, goes back to the categories that we were talking about in step 1. If you're just creating a whole bunch of content, you might get a little overwhelmed. So say you have 20 pieces of content that you need to create this month. That sounds like a ton. However, if you break these up into categories, it could be creating 5 pieces of content for 4 categories. That sounds so much more doable. So I want you to do the math right now. If you've been through this exercise with me before, hang tight here. Thanks for your patience. If you haven't been through this exercise yet, I really recommend that you do this. Sit down and write out how many status updates you want to send out a day, how many days a week you want to send them out. So for this specific example, say you want to send out 6 status updates a day, 5 days a week. That means you are going to need to get 120 status updates a month created. It might sound like a lot if you do it that way, right? But if we break it down a little bit, if you use 6 categories, that's only having to add 20 status updates per category per month. That's you sitting down, and perhaps you have a content creation week where every day you say, okay, my 20 updates for my quotes category is Monday. My 20 updates for my questions category is Tuesday. My 20 updates for my behind the scenes content is Thursday. My 20 updates for my promotional content is Friday. You get the point, or you could do them all in one day. You know, if you batch once a month, I love this, is that you only have to create social media content 12 times a year, that means, which is, again, so much more doable. And if you break it down into these categories, this is where the batching magic happens. So do yourself a favor and do that math. Figure it out, put it onto your calendar, and don't stray from that tactic. When you really do use categories for batching, it also allows you to start to do what's called upcycling. Upcycling is something that you really need to start to participate in, especially in 2020, because there is so much content online that it's impossible to be seen if you're only sharing once in a while. So you really want to make sure that you're sitting down and making sure if you have a blog post, that you can turn that blog post into multiple status updates, whether it's getting a pull quote from the blog post, whether it's sharing just the blog post, whether it's getting a video of yourself describing the blog post, whether it's putting a pull quote on a Canva background to make it a more imagery grabbing in that way. There's so much you can do with one piece of content that you really need to do that. All right. Last but not least here, I want to share this story because it just happened this weekend and I'm a little traumatized by it, and I was trying to find a little bit of meaning in it, and then I came to this and I was like, I'm going to share this today. So I love to use stemmed wine glasses when I drink wine, the long stem. But I have a friend who thinks it's the dumbest thing ever because it doesn't have any utility in it. It's not like I'm a wine snob who's going to go ahead and think that my hand is heating up the wine or something. And always makes fun of me for liking the stemmed ones rather than the stemless wine glasses. I promise this has a point here. The other day, I accidentally knocked over an entire glass of red wine on a white carpet. Of course, a white carpet of a rental house I didn't own. Story ends okay. It did come out. Club soda is amazing. However, it got me thinking, truly, it's just because I want to look fancy when I use the stems. It's because I want to look the part of being a fancy person drinking a glass of wine, when really I should just have the utilitarian stemless wine glass, because that's what does the job. That's what's going to make me the happiest, right? Is just getting the job done and having that value. So be the stemless wine glass. Don't worry about looking fancy. Don't worry about what you look like online. Forget all of that other stuff and make sure your content has a real reason behind existing. And that's truly what's going to win and get your followers excited. All right, so those are going to be your 5 steps of going through the content creation, the engagement, the distribution, and all of that fun stuff that can be really super duper helpful. So I will go ahead, like I said, I agree, Meg, they are the better ones, but I've learned my lesson. I'll go ahead and stop sharing these slides right now and jump into kind of a Q&A. There were a couple of questions I wanted to get to that were pre-submitted on the content batching forum, especially about Instagram. So let me pop into that real quick. Please keep your questions coming here. Awesome, Deborah. I'm so glad you could make some tweaks on that spreadsheet. If you guys need the spreadsheet, Sarah, or anyone who needs the spreadsheet again, let me just copy this link right here and I'll put it in the chat. These are the spreadsheets we are working off of. If you go to our help center and type in the word import, again, that'll be a helpful way that you can go ahead and see how to do that. If Maura pops off and she's not in the chat, I will stay on and get to your questions in a bit, since we are coming up on an hour and I want to be really super duper respectful of all of y'all's time. So I appreciate you sticking with us here. Like I said, I'll stay on for a bit and answer some questions. There will be a replay available. So if you guys can do me a favor, actually, I'm going to put these replays on our YouTube channel because one of my goals is to actually learn YouTube a little bit better and start to grow our YouTube channel, which is really super exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on our YouTube channel. If you guys want to go ahead and subscribe to that, it's right here. You'll get a notification when those go up. It'll be on a playlist. Otherwise, you should get an automatic email from Demio, this program, once this is over, and it should ping out the replay to you there. I'll also be sending an email out depending upon what you said your main goals were, whether it was like engagement, consistency, content creation, with a few other resources that Edgar has after this, and the replay will also be in that email. So lots of places to find the replay. If you miss them all, or if somehow they miss you, email support@meetedgar.com, and we'll go ahead and get that to you. Cool. So guys, Instagram. I know a couple of you had questions about links on Instagram. So Instagram is never going to be a place where you want to share the link right in the status update. So when you're adding your content into Edgar, remember, links on Instagram are not clickable. We had a couple of questions about that. So if you're trying to drive traffic from an Instagram post, it's not just your posts that are being sent from MeetEdgar. It's like if you upload them directly to Instagram, it's just the nature of the social network that they don't do clickable links. So if you want to drive traffic with Instagram, I would suggest doing what's called link in bio. I thought I had that blog post saved too. But essentially what you want to do is, talk about all of the great, there it is, talk about all the great information, all of that fun stuff. And the only clickable link in Instagram is the one in your bio. So that's why a lot of the time you'll hear the language that says link in bio, so that you're alerting people to go up to your actual bio and click on that link. This blog post that I'm dropping into the chat right here is a really great way to learn tools for driving traffic on Instagram, because none of your URLs will ever be clickable there unless Instagram changes something. The other Instagram question is just about our mobile app. So if you guys are new to Edgar, we do go ahead and do Instagram with our mobile app, and it is right here in this second link that I'm putting here. If you haven't downloaded it yet, what you're going to do, same deal. You're going to add your content into MeetEdgar in the exact same way you do for the other networks. So when you click to add content to Edgar, go ahead and click to, let me show you here, click to add new content. For Instagram, obviously it has to have photos or video connected to that content. So go ahead and click on Instagram here. Click to add a photo here. Oh, a dog one. That was convenient. Precious. Go ahead and write your caption here. Go ahead and save it to your library. A lot of people will create Instagram specific categories if you wanted to have any different language for Instagram, like the link in bio, stuff like that. Or just go ahead and add it as something you're amplifying out, like if it's a funny or inspirational quote to a bunch like Facebook and Instagram, you can do that. On your schedule, make sure on your schedule here that you are also putting Instagram as the account here. Once a post is sent to your queue, so guys, if you're new to Edgar, I apologize if this is moving quickly. Your posts are stored in the library here. So the Instagram posts that you've added will be stored in the library here. The schedule is when you're telling Edgar when to send them out. This week repeats over and over again, so you do only have to set it up once. The queue will show you the posts essentially being pulled from the library based on the time slots on your schedule. So the queue will give you the date. It'll give you what's going out. So once an Instagram post is pulled into the queue and is sent out at that time, a push notification will come to your MeetEdgar app on the phone. Once you acknowledge it, it'll go ahead and automatically copy the photo or video to your camera roll and automatically copy the text to your phone's clipboard, at which point you are going to go ahead and open Instagram, find and filter the photo to your story or to your feed, tap to paste the text, and you'll be good to go. So that's going to be how those push notifications work for Instagram. Everything else is direct posting to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all that fun stuff. It's just Instagram you do need to download the app and go through that extra step with. So let me know if you do have any questions about that there. Cool. Will it ever be possible to automatically post to Instagram? So fingers crossed, yes. We're waiting on Instagram's approval for that, actually. So they have a closed API right now and are not opening it back up currently. We do, if you guys know anyone at Instagram, we're trying to get in touch with the people to get any sort of information about when that might happen. So email support@meetedgar.com if you have any connections to someone on Instagram, because we are trying to figure out when they might open that back up to more apps like us. I have a successful group with 11K members and 16K on Facebook, but I want to grow Instagram, but I don't want to bore my core followers. Cool. So Sarah, that's really a great place to start to think about the different types of content you can offer on Instagram versus on Facebook, and then tell your Facebook group about the things you're talking about over on Instagram to kind of cross promote that way, right? So Instagram is obviously a very visual place. So you could say stuff and be like, I'm sharing my behind the scenes tips on XYZ over on an Instagram, over on my Instagram story live today or something like that. Stories are so huge on Instagram that it's a pretty cool place to be able to test things like that messaging, that maybe you want to change up your messaging a little bit on Instagram versus Facebook, and then tell how many members you have there on your Facebook group about it. I'd also say if you are just starting out with Instagram, sorry, awkward typing here. I would say to go ahead and download this. This will give you some really great story ideas as you're getting started out. And at the bottom, there's actually a story prompt that you can get a prompt that when you want to, oh, here it is. Actually, I'll share this link. Here are the templates. So again, this is another lead magnet, another example of the lead magnets we were talking about. This link right here, Sarah, go ahead and grab that. There's some really great templates for Instagram, especially as you're getting started out, that you can utilize. And it's a pretty great place for, again, you to be able to start testing different messaging and kind of cross-promoting between the networks that way to build up Instagram with different information than you do share in your Facebook group. Can I time schedule every variation of one post, or is it going out on some system schedule? Great question. So variations of a post, if you guys aren't familiar with variations, what they are essentially built for is Twitter does have a term of service that says you cannot send the same tweet to the same Twitter account more than once anymore. So for that reason, Edgar has everything set up to keep you in compliance with that. So you'll see that your tweets will expire once they send out from MeetEdgar. However, we have this variations feature that you can click and it'll pop up a second text box. This can be used with any network. It was specifically built for Twitter though. And what you're gonna do is just alter the language you're using slightly. So ask a different question, use a different headline, tell a different story, alter it in some way. That way, if this is on your schedule based on a category, I'll get to the actual question in a minute as well, but just give some background here. Once this blog post category is up on your schedule, Edgar will work backwards. He's going to send the last variation out first. He'll then have to expire it for Twitter. The whole post will go to the end of the line in this category. The next time this post is up in your rotation, the next variation, the one above it, will send out. Edgar will have to expire it for Twitter. He'll keep it unexpired for the other categories. But when you're creating your content, I always suggest adding a few variations at once so that you know this post will keep in the rotation that way. So if you're using it with a category-based schedule, Edgar is moving from the last variation on up. Variations will not go out back to back unless this is the only post in that category that Edgar has to choose from. If you have a bunch of content in there with variations, they're not going out back to back, they'll just go this way. What I believe the question is about is Edgar does have another way of scheduling content here, and that is with our schedule, send, and save features. Let me go ahead and show you. So next to the save to library button, you have this drop down arrow here. Schedule, send, and save. This option allows you to put a day and time when you want this post to send out at. This essentially is like putting a start date on this post, because if this is populated here, Edgar's going to hold this post until this day and time is reached, at which point he'll send it out to whatever networks you have attached. He'll then go ahead and put it to the end of the line in the category. If you use this feature with variations, the last variation will be the one to send out on this day and time. So in this example, variation 3 would send out on this day and time. Edgar's then going to just put the whole post to the end of the line in the category. There's no way to schedule each variation with this at this time. I do love that as a feature request, and I'll pass along that. But if you wanted to then reschedule variation 2, you would need to locate this post in your library, click edit on it, and add in another day and time. And that would be when the second variation would send out then. I know this is kind of wordy to explain. I actually do believe we have this system laid out right here in this article on variations. Yeah, so if you scroll down, you can see the posting order of how your posts will go out, and I'll put this in the chat in a minute. Let me make sure here. Variations posting order. Okay, so yeah, if you choose these, you can see this. This is what it's explaining right here, what I just went over. So it'll be the last variation that sends on the schedule, send, and save option. Then if you wanted to schedule the other ones, you would have to go back and edit the post. Otherwise, they're just going to go back into the automatic rotation based on when that category is on your schedule. So let me know if that's not clear. It's also outlined in that little help article right there. Variations are pretty great. Cool. Yeah, anytime. How often to post to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter? Great question. This is 1,000,000% dependent upon your community. So I do have this article right here from our help center that I would 100% recommend you check out. So you can see we actually give some examples of the schedules and stuff here. So check this out. But essentially what you want to start out with is just thinking about when your ideal audience is online, obviously. Thinking about things like if they wake up in the morning, do they want to see a quote? Thinking about things like if they want to end their day watching a video, stuff like that, and start experimenting. I would say if you're just starting out, I would say don't post more than once a day on Instagram. You can post on your stories. I would say a good story length is 7 frames, seems to work really well. Post on your stories daily, sure, but don't post more than once a day on your feed on Instagram if you're just starting out. If you have an engaged community already, different story, do what you know works. LinkedIn, I would say maybe share a curated piece of content that you didn't write, as well as one brand related piece of content a day would probably be a good mix to start experimenting with, just because it is such a knowledge sharing community over there. Twitter's a little faster moving, so I'd say if you're just starting out, you could get away with sending out as many as 5 tweets a day. Facebook, I wouldn't recommend sending out more than 2 pieces of content until you can build up some engagement on them, because of what we were talking about in those slides. It's just that if Facebook does not see your content getting engaged with, the algorithm will start hiding it from followers when maybe your followers just needed a little bit more time to get to know you as a brand and to get to understand that you wanted to chat with them, right? So I would say those are probably some good numbers to follow, but please check out that article there. It also links to a bunch of blog posts that let you know how to use like your Facebook insights and your Twitter analytics to let you know about your specific audience. Because truly, it's not a one size fits all. I know it's not a cop-out answer. I'm sorry. I know that's kind of annoying to hear, but you do have to experiment with your specific community to see that stuff. But yeah, I'd say start slowly. 1 on Instagram, do an Instagram story daily. Those are huge. A couple on LinkedIn, 5 on Twitter probably wouldn't start out with. And if you're using the categories, it also allows you to see what type of content people are resonating with the most. And you know, in your MeetEdgar tab here, if you go to your history tab, if you are experimenting with different types of links that you're sharing and just want to see like what type of curated content people want, if you do go to your history tab here and you go ahead and sort it by like blog posts, stuff like that, you can actually click on this all-time clicks column right up here, and it'll sort it to show you the posts that received the most amount of clicks down to the least amount of clicks. And then you can start to really learn, you know, what type of content people are really resonating with, what times of day people are really clicking on your blog posts the most. And this is a really great way to help inform your schedule from there. Is it possible to pause a single account in the queue rather than deselecting all the content linked to the account? Unfortunately, not. So in the, ooh, what is going on here? I'm not sure what that noise is, guys. Sorry. So in the, okay, it's just the screen share bugging out on me. Let me share this again. In MeetEdgar, the only way to pause one single account is either by deselecting the accounts from the time slots on the schedule or from the content in the library. So as you mentioned, Kev, It is a little bit of a process. There's no automatic way to do this in the queue. It is, again, a great feature that I will pass along. We do love to hear what you want to see. But my best suggestion is if you come to the schedule here, you can actually filter by account with this little drop down. So I can say, you know, show me all the time slots selected to this Instagram account that I don't want to send out. It'll go ahead and filter your schedule to show you all the time slots connected to that. You can click into these, just remove that, click save again, and that'll no longer be there. Again, click in, remove, click save, and that'll no longer send out. I find it easier to do it on the schedule. The other way of pausing just one account rather than taking the account permissions off of the time slots on the schedule is to either put them in a holding category in the library or remove the account permissions. So if you have a category called holding, you can actually create that category and not put it on your schedule at all. So just don't put that category on your schedule. From there, you can go ahead and use bulk edit right here. So in your library, if you click on bulk edit, it'll take you to where you can go ahead and sort it. So say I wanted all of the, let's say like social by, I don't know if I have any connected to that actually. Okay, good. I wanted all of the account posts for social by 7, this community here, not to send out. I want to pause it. I can sort this bulk edit screen by post connected to that account. I can then either just remove that account. So go ahead and select them all with this update checkbox. That'll select all of them. Go ahead and find it. Click twice on this upper level checkbox. It'll remove that account connection. Scroll down and click update selected. Or if you create that holding category, you could actually then click to move all of these posts into that drafts or into that holding category using this drop down here. Let's say this recommended reads is our holding category. I could move all of the posts connected to the social by 7 community here out to this holding category, and then those posts will be removed from any time slots on the schedule that way. So pausing your account, either remove the account connections on the schedule or remove the account connections on the library or move the posts into a holding category that's not on your schedule are going to be your 3 options. Cool. MeetEdgar's posting prompts us to shorten links using Bitly, which I did. However, none of my posts track for clicks and views. So if you are using Bitly, you do have to actually go on to Bitly to see the click-through rates. So the only click-through rates that you can see within MeetEdgar are going to be if you use ed.gr, which is our link shortening, or Rebrandly. So the only clicks that are going to track here in the history tab are going to be through Edgar or through Rebrandly. So if you wanted those pulled in, you can always come to your drop-down menu right here and go to your settings. And then you can always go ahead and switch this to use our link shortener. Click on change right here and go ahead and use ed.gr or use Bitly that way. Sorry, not Bitly, or use Rebrandly. Bitly doesn't have a link through to the history tab. Those ones you do have to look at directly on Bitly. Sorry for that confusion. Cool. Let me know if there's any last minute questions that popped up here, guys. I'm happy to answer a couple more. Appreciate you actually sticking around. I don't know why Demio thinks when I cancel sharing that I don't want to. Anyway, the replay for this will send out. I will also send out a couple of resources depending upon the goal that you went out and did. Please let us know, like I said, with the spreadsheets, what actual kind of content might be helpful for you in the future. If these weren't helpful at all, also please let us know that. Just as you should be experiencing with the content and stuff like that, we definitely want to know what's helpful for you. Moving posts in sequence. I'm not sure I caught that one. I'm so sorry, Betty. So there's no way to move posts around beyond just utilizing the skip tool in the queue. So the best way to move posts is if you go to the queue here, Edgar is going to send out in that last in, first out rotation. So if you add something to a category, let's take this example. If I just added this blog post to my blog post category here, and I did not want this to be the next piece of content to send out, I can go ahead and use this little arrow right here which will put it to the end of the line in the category, and Edgar will pull in the next one. So that's one way that you could just say, okay, you know, you add a blog post, you don't want it to send out, just click to skip it in the queue. There's no way to reorder it in the library unless you like click to edit the post. And again, you could use that schedule, send, and save feature. So from the drop-down arrow here, this is completely separate from the weekly repeating schedule. So if you click to schedule, send, and save something, know it's going to go out in addition to anything on your weekly repeating schedule. So just make sure you always know that as well. But those are probably the two main ways that you can actually switch up content. You can also do things like create, again, that holding category to just put posts in that you aren't ready to send out. You can look into this article that I'll pop in the chat right here in our help center that goes over that skip and shuffle function there. That might be kind of helpful for that. Affiliate program. Ooh, so we do have one. It is called your Octopal program. So when you're in your MeetEdgar account and you go to this drop-down menu from your name, go to the settings here, and you'll see an Octopal link. If someone signs up off of this Octopal link, so right here, you're going to get $10 off your subscription. They'll get $10 off their second month subscription there. So this link, actually, if you click on it, will describe the program. But yeah, definitely if you know someone who could really benefit from a social media scheduling tool, make sure you do grab your Octopal link so you can get that savings. So right here are the full details of the Octopal affiliate program there. Cool, cool. So I understand the shortening of the links. Let's track in history, but isn't it better for our website SEO to have a full link posted versus a bit.ly or Edgar? So truly, there's no real benefit reach-wise on social media that we've seen. We've tested using ed.gr versus just using the link. There's truly no penalization that we've seen in the reach there. So it's kind of just based upon what you want to see. If you don't want to shorten your links, there is no other way of tracking the click-through rates in MeetEdgar. In that case, you would have to like go to your Google Analytics and start to kind of look where your website traffic is coming from and stuff like that. But you know, you could do your own testing in Edgar if you wanted to kind of test around with some being short and some being not short. You can selectively turn it off on a post. So like if you have bit.ly turned on and you're adding a piece of content, you can just toggle this little arrow right here and it'll actually turn the link shortening off. That way, if you wanted to test a few of them without link shortening to see if it got a bigger reach or something like that in your Facebook Insights, definitely kind of just depending upon like trustworthiness of your community to click on a short link or something like that. But truly, I find most people just click on link previews anyway, especially on Facebook or with Twitter cards established. So we've never seen that big of a difference in using anything like that. Good question though. Oh, cool. I'm so glad that the questions and engagement are doing well there. Affiliate program we got. Good, good, good. Of course, Demi, I was thinking I don't want to share my screen. All right, cool. So let me know if I missed any other questions. Otherwise, I'll get those emails out. We do have office hours every day if you guys have never popped into those. If you just have like a quick question that you want to ask and you don't want to actually sit through a whole webinar and listen to me blabber on, office hours are completely unstructured. We run them every day, so you can always just pop in. This link right here will have the updated times of when they are. And again, I just kind of sit in there and answer questions. So you can always, of course, email support@meetedgar.com as well. We will run another content batching party next month, of course. So let me know kind of the structure you guys like. Do you like slides? Do you like actually having time to create content? Email us that too so we can make sure that we're doing well with the categories and with all of the things that we're stressing here. Cool. So I'll get those emails out. Thanks a million for joining us today. And definitely stay in touch from support@meetedgar.com. All right, cool. Awesome. Thank you guys. It was really fun hanging out today. Have a good one.